Okay, today we're going to talk about measuring length in centimeters. All right, measuring length is the distance between 2 points. All right, like this little block of aluminum here, if we want to measure its length, we measure the distance between one end and the other. Or maybe if we wanted to measure this pencil, we measure the distance between one end and the other, and that's length. Okay, length is measured in centimeters. In science, we always use the metric system, and the main unit that we'll use is centimeters. Okay, sometimes we use millimeters, which are even smaller than centimeters. Okay, millimeters, 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. All right, and if you look at your ruler, you'll see the side that has centimeters on it. Okay, and 1 centimeter is just a little bit smaller than the width of like my finger. Maybe your pinky finger is about, get it focused there. Pinky finger is a little bit wider than 1 centimeter. Okay, so that's when we're talking about centimeter. Okay, we don't in science use the other side of the ruler, which is in inches. Okay, we do not use that in science. Always use centimeters. Okay, so this ruler that you'll have is 30 centimeters in length. Okay, everything we'll be measuring will be smaller than that. Alright, so now we're going to see how do we actually measure something. Right, now we're going to measure this dry erase marker. See the length of it. Okay, when you're measuring something with a ruler, you always make sure the end of it that you're measuring is right at the 0 mark. Okay, not the end of the ruler. Okay, some rulers may have the 0 mark right at the end. This one does not, as you can see here. So I'm going to move this marker until it's right at 0. Okay, that's the end of it. Now to measure the length, you just look at the other end and see where it comes to on the scale. Alright, and if we see this one, the end of the marker is right at 12 centimeters. Okay, so the length of this marker, we would write down 12 centimeters. Always use a unit. Okay, so what do we do if we measure something that doesn't come exactly to one of the marked centimeter marks? You know, like that dry erase marker that we just measured was exactly 12 centimeters. Okay? However, the socket is not exactly 12 centimeters. Okay? So we got the end right at 0, which is where it's supposed to be. And when we look over here at the other end, the length of it is somewhere between 6 and 7. Okay? Now, you notice those little marks between 6 and 7. There's exactly 10 little marks between 6 and 7. Alright? And this socket is going up to the 4th mark. So it's 6 centimeters and 4 little marks. So since there's 10 of those, they're 1/10 of a centimeter. So we could say that the length of this is 6.4 centimeters. Okay? How do you write that? .4 centimeters. Always use the units. Don't leave your numbers. Also use millimeters to determine the length of this socket. All right? Each number on there is a centimeter because that's what the scale says right there, cm. But each little mark, remember there's 10 of them between the centimeters. Each little mark is a millimeter. Okay? So where it says 1 centimeter, that's 10 millimeters. So it would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and there's 4 marks past 64. So this would be 64 millimeters. Or 6.4 centimeters. Okay? Those are very equivalent. You just have to move the decimal point because they're a factor of 10 off. Another thing we need to talk about. What if your measurement was right in between? Like this one was 6.4 centimeters. What if it was right in between 6.4 and 6.5? Do you put 6.45 or 6.4.5? No. You use the closest mark. So if it's a little bit closer to 6.5, you would have to say it was 6.5. If it's a little bit closer to 6.4, you would have to say 6.4. You can't make up another decimal point in between. because it's not marked on the scale. Now we need to talk about how do we measure something if it doesn't have exactly even edges. Okay, you see, I don't know if you can tell or not on the video, but this piece of aluminum has sort of rounded off edges. Okay, so if we try to measure it with our ruler, we may not be exactly right because the ruler, the edges have been smoothed off. Okay, so what you have to do in this case is you have to use a pencil and mark the ends on a piece of paper. Okay, mark the ends on a piece of paper, and then after you do that, you can use your ruler to measure in between. So this piece of aluminum, I put the left hand mark right on the 0, the other mark goes right through 10.2 centimeters. So this piece of aluminum was 10.2 centimeters in length.